Iwo Jima.
Everybody wants to meet you guys.
This week on Ebert and Roeper, an early review of Clint Eastwood's Flags of Our Fathers.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning.
Ooh, the beginning. And Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon and Martin Scorsese's The Departed.
Do you want him to chop me up and feed me the pork?
Any theories why they ain't shooting?
Maybe they're all dead.
What do you think, Doc?
You think they're all dead?
Soldiers face the ravages of war in Clint Eastwood's Flags of Our Fathers. I'm Richard Roeper, and sitting in for Roger this week is the film expert from the TV Guide channel, Zorianna Kit. Welcome, Zorianna.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. Let's get right to it. Our first movie is Clint Eastwood's Flags of Our Fathers, and it stands with Eastwood's Oscar-winning Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby as an American masterpiece. The flag raising at Iwo Jima is perhaps the most famous war photograph ever captured, and Flags of Our Fathers tells the story of the 5 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman who raised that flag. In February of 1945, the Allies were closing in on victory, but they still faced a mighty struggle to take the tiny but crucial island. The heart of the story is what happened to the 3 surviving flag raisers after the iconic photo captivated the nation.
I was just a runner. That's it. We put up a flag. The pole we attached it to was heavy, so it took a number of us. Got our picture taken doing it. The real heroes are dead on that island.
With many of their buddies already dead or still fighting in the Pacific, 3 ordinary men who didn't consider themselves heroes are thrust into the spotlight at the expense of the truth.
Hank wasn't in the picture.
Sorry?
Hank didn't raise that flag. He raised the other one, the real flag.
The what? The real flag? There's a real flag?
Yeah, ours was the replacement flag. We put it up and they took the other one down.
Ryan Phillippe gives the best performance of his career as Doc Bradley. Adam Beach also turns in some memorable work as Ira Hayes, an American Indian who drinks himself into a stupor to alleviate his guilt.
Some of the things I saw done, things I did, they weren't things to be proud of, you know?
6 decades after the end of World War II, the military media machine is still embellishing the stories of brave Americans such as Pat Tillman and Jessica Lynch. Not that much has changed. It's not enough to serve and to be injured or even killed. The stories have to be neatly packaged. That's what happened with these men who raised the second flag at Iwo Jima. Yes, there were 2 flag raisings. Flags of Our Fathers is a patriotic film in that it honors those who fought in the Pacific, but it's also patriotic because it questions the official version of the truth, and it reminds us that superheroes exist only in comic books and cartoonish movies. This film opens in 2 weeks. For me, big thumbs up.
Yeah, to me, this film was a thumbs up, but not as big as yours.
Okay.
I think the disappointment factor comes in that you're thinking you're going to get Saving Private Ryan. And I think half the movie is that because it alternates between the battle scenes and the aftermath. So while the battle scenes are very much in the vein of Saving Private Ryan, most of the movie does not follow that. And so if you go in expecting a big bloody battle, you're going to be a little bit disappointed.
Well, Zorianna, I think there are some very graphic battle sequences, but I think your mild thumbs up is almost more about your expectations than what this film is about. I agree. I think if you see the trailers or you read about this, you go, okay, this is going to be the story of these heroes. But to me, the more fascinating story is what happened after the fact. Everybody knows that image. Everybody knows the photo, the war monument in Washington. But the story about what happened to these guys afterward and how they were turned into these kind of superstars against their will, I think is a fascinating slice of that story.
But I think considering the pedigree with Clint Eastwood and especially Steven Spielberg, who directed Saving Private Ryan, the comparisons will happen inevitably. And I also don't feel that the actors had as much weight and gravitas as they did in Saving Private Ryan, with the exception of Ryan Phillippe, who I agree does give the best
looks
performance.
Different, because he's usually such a pretty boy, and it's a surprising performance.
But then, you stick someone in like Paul Walker in 2 scenes, and seeing Paul Walker on the battlefield is the equivalent of seeing John Travolta or George Clooney in Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line. It kind of takes you a little bit out of that.
Again, Paul Walker, who's not one of my favorite actors in the world, I thought he did a very nice job in a smaller role. So I think it's a great film. It sounds like you're saying it's a good film.
Yes, I am giving it a thumbs up. The story is fascinating. As someone who is Canadian and is very familiar with that iconic image, it was really nice to see the frame of the photograph taken away and see all the stuff around it.
The more you think about it, you're eventually going to be in agreement with me that this is not just a good film, but a great film.
It's a good film.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, next up is Keeping Mum, and it's probably one of the funniest films to come out of England in years. It centers around a murderous Mary Poppins named Grace, who gives literal meaning to the term striking while the iron is hot. Played by Maggie Smith, Grace enters the life of the Goodfellow family, a mess of a household thanks to an absent-minded vicar who has no idea his wife is cheating on him, or that his teenage daughter is a nymphomaniac, or that his young son is being bullied at school. But thanks to Grace, the new housekeeper, problems are solved one by one, including those pesky bullies.
Oh, who's that?
It's Billy Martin.
Oh! Wow, good old broccoli. Shall we have some for supper?
Rowan Atkinson, known to audiences as Mr. Bean, gives an understated performance as the vicar, and Kristen Scott Thomas does a fine job as the cheating wife.
Was that a brassiere over Holly's shoulder this morning?
You're half a day behind the rest of us, you know that? We call it a bra nowadays.
And just when you thought Patrick Swayze might be spending the rest of his career doing Roadhouse 2, 3, and 4, he reinvents himself as a perverted golf instructor and Kristen Scott Thomas's American lover.
I'm gonna lick my way up slowly all the way to the middle.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
Maggie Smith is near perfect as always, and Rowan Atkinson finally moves past his Mr. Bean persona in a straight role that calls for restraint rather than physicality, a feat he successfully pulls off. So for me, Mum gets a thumbs up.
I agree with just about everything you're saying here, including the fact I think for the first time in history we've heard the phrase understated performance and Rowan Atkinson in the same sentence, because I hate that Bean guy. I hate that Bean character. He is funny in small doses, and here it's the best performance I've ever seen him give. He has a speech that he gives to the other religious leaders, the bishops and everything, that's like really moving and profound. So there's some great moments like that. And yeah, this thing is so British, I think I got bad teeth watching it. I mean, it's just, they pull this off. The Brits do this kind of dark, quiet, whimsical comedy where it never seems too precious. I don't know how they quite pull it off. And yeah, Patrick Swayze,
he was such a joy to watch.
I mean, he was actually,
been,
God bless him for making fun of himself, you know, and going with it. And I've always loved Kristen Scott Thomas, and of course Maggie Smith is a jewel.
When
so
you
there
think
you
of
go.
the cast, if somebody tells you, oh, this movie has Maggie Smith, Kristen Scott Thomas, Patrick Swayze, and Rowan Atkinson, you're like, what do I even want to see this movie?
Yeah, it sounds like the Surreal Life 9.
Exactly.
You know?
But then, you know what? Once you sit down, it's totally enjoyable.
Very
it's funny.
Funny stuff. Okay, coming up next, the most sexually explicit movie of the year, Shortbus. Our next film is Shortbus, a.k.a. the movie where the actors actually have sex with each other, by themselves, in groups. It's not rated, but I'm sure it probably would have gotten about a PG-13. After a couple of early sequences that are so graphic they might make Jenna Jameson blush, the shock wears off and you actually start to care about these misfit New Yorkers who are desperately looking for satisfaction sexually and romantically. Suk-Yin Lee, a radio personality in Canada, plays Sophia, a sex therapist who has never had an orgasm. Paul Dawson plays James. P.J. Du Bois plays Jamie. They're a loving but troubled couple who decide to bring a third partner into the relationship.
I mean, there's a lot of good and cute people in the world who don't have any love in their lives, and I think we could help them. I mean, I love cute people.
Tell me what you need in one sentence.
I love everybody.
That's not a need.
I need to love everybody.
Sophia strikes up a friendship with a dominatrix, and they meet up for weekly bonding sessions in a sensory deprivation tank.
Maybe you can help me, like, have a real human interaction with someone.
Shortbus is written and directed by John Cameron Mitchell, who had kind of a cult hit with Hedwig and the Angry Inch. He wields a fearless camera, keeping things rolling well past the point when most directors would yell, cut, or maybe get a room. The cast is attractive and talented, but most of the sex scenes are actually anything but erotic, as was the case with Michael Winterbottom's 9 songs. Non-simulated sex isn't necessarily more interesting, more provocative, or more erotic on screen than the NC-17 variety. However, Shortbus is very funny and quite moving at times. There are some neat, low-budget stylistic touches as well. Now, obviously, this film is for a specialized target audience, but I do give it thumbs up.
Oh,
what is that?
At what point did you actually care about these people or find their lives compelling? They have everything going for them, yet they're unhappy due to these superficial reasons.
Well, I don't know, Zorianna. I mean, there's, one guy's suicidal, the one woman has a sexual dysfunction.
But they
there's
have
a couple that's in disrepair. Well, I mean, whoever, you can say that about anybody. What's the reason for having these problems?
This film is a porn film disguised as a legitimate movie. You don't care about these people. They're not particularly good actors. And like a true porno, you want them to shut up, stop talking, so you can just move on to the sex scenes, which themselves aren't that compelling.
No, I see, that's the thing. There were a lot of times where I wish they would stop with the sex scenes and go back to some of the dialogue and some of the characters. I thought it was well written. I thought obviously these actors are very brave for taking on this role, but I think if you get past all the sensationalistic stuff, there's actually a nice story there about a bunch of dysfunctional people who get together, kind of find solace in each other's arms.
I don't know where you found this nice story. I mean, I thought when Shortbus, I thought, oh, it's about a bunch of mentally challenged kids on their way to school.
Well, to take off on that, that's where the title comes from.
And instead, it's about a mentally challenged filmmaker who should have gone to film school. I mean...
Okay, I guess we're going to disagree on that one.
And later in the show, Leatherface returns in Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. And next, Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon star in Martin Scorsese's The Departed.
The people of Uganda are eating beef and driving big cars.
Looking at movies now in theaters, which I reviewed with last week's guest critic Kevin Smith, 3 great films, all with Oscar-worthy performances, all getting 2 big thumbs up. You got The Last King of Scotland with Forrest Whitaker, Helen Mirren, who is just fantastic in The Queen, and Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Matt Damon in Martin Scorsese's The Departed.
I'm gonna get you.
If you coulda, you woulda. But I guess you like to go at your own pace. Excuse me. Got a date with some angels.
And Zorianna, I thought this was vintage Scorsese. I love Goodfellas, of course, and going all the way back to Mean Streets. And I love when he gets gritty and down in the gutter with these guys. And this is very bloody and very profane, but also, I thought, very funny in parts. Love this film.
Very funny. One of the best films of the year so far.
Yeah.
Goodfellas with cell phones is what I call it.
You're right. Yeah, very rarely in a film has a cell phone been such a key character, but it's not a gimmick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
I was really worried about Scorsese for a while because you're bringing out the dead and Gangs of New York. It was like, what was he doing? But he's back in fine form. He should see some nominations. Jack Nicholson should see some nominations. Yeah. After seeing this film, I just wanted to drink a shot of whiskey and punch someone in the face. I was ready to go. All right, our next movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, and it's the latest installment in the Leatherface franchise that was first introduced in 1974. Now, 32 years and many, many sequels later, they do what you always do when you've run out of ideas but still want to milk the franchise. That's right, a prequel. Yay, the origin story. Well, fans can now see how it all began, starting with the birth of little baby Leatherface. This time, the focus is on Leatherface's family and how they began their murderous, cannibalistic ways.
You gotta get the hell out of here, you dumb animal!
Sheriff Hoyt is the real star of the movie, with veteran actor R. Lee Ermey making Jack Nicholson's character in The Shining look like Mr. Rogers.
And alone, we will rise above it all. People may not remember what we say here tonight, but they sure don't remember what we do.
Now, it's almost a staple of the genre that if a character has the choice between saving themselves and putting themselves in more jeopardy, what do? They put themselves in more jeopardy. Several times, Jordana Brewster's character, Chrissy, does this, including this next scene. These people, they never learn. You know, initially the studio was reluctant to let me see this movie because, I don't know if you know, Richard, I'm 3 months pregnant, and the movie is very bloody and gory, and there's a whole scene about the actual Leatherface birth, which is not the beautiful spiritual experience that most women have. But the good news is I was totally fine watching this movie. And the bad news is I was totally fine watching this movie. I mean, I like my horror films to scare the bejesus out of me. I want to be gripping the arm of the person next to me. And, you know, I just wasn't with this film. In fact, I laughed a lot. You know, I think the bar on horror films has been set so high by recent movies like Saw and Hostel that this Texas Chainsaw film just doesn't measure up. So it's a thumbs down for me, but if you are a fan of the franchise, you will enjoy it.
Yeah, unfortunately, your eyes were working, right? So, you know, I'm a big fan of good, gory splatter movies as well, but you're right, there aren't really any scares here. It's just all about let's gross everybody out and Leatherface will run around. And you're right about Jordana Brewster. To me, the real suspense was with her character, are her pants going to stay up? Because it was like she had the lowest cut jeans ever, and I kept thinking, are they going to, how is she keeping them on? It was quite, her hips did a better performance, actually, than the rest of her.
I think when you're dealing with a movie like this that's had so many installments, it becomes more of a director's medium. It's who's the young hot guy who can try to reinvent. And I think Jonathan Liebsman does a fine job. He's done one movie before. You know, he'll probably use this as a calling card to get his next gig. And you know, he could become the Wes Craven of his generation. But it's more about the filmmaker, less about
the story's been played out so many times. You're so right about that.
Nothing original here.
Okay, this is an original film. It's called Jesus Camp, and it's one of the most compelling documentaries of the year. If you've ever been approached by a Little League-aged kid who wants to know if you've let Jesus into your life, well, this movie shows you where those kids come from and how their mindset is formed. Becky Fisher is a hardcore conservative evangelical pastor who is one of the leaders of a summer camp called Kids on Fire, and gosh, doesn't that sound like fun?
This is the greatest day of your life next to the day you got saved.
The pastors of Jesus Camp almost literally worship George W. Bush, and they put their children on the front lines in the war against abortion. When Fisher gets worked up talking about this sickle world, she kind of reminded me of Kathy Bates in Misery.
Some extreme liberals, they have to look at this and start shaking in their boots. The intensity that you see of these kids, there's no doubt they've got to be watching this and go, oh my goodness, I didn't know this was possible. What are these kids going to be like when they grow up?
There's a lot of talk about saving souls, but where are the messages about tolerance and forgiveness and helping others? Now, I spent a lot of years studying the teachings of Jesus in Catholic grammar school, and I think Jesus would be appalled what goes on in these camps. Thumbs up for this film.
Thumbs up for me, too. I mean, as somebody who was raised Catholic, I mean, talk about horror films. Texas Chainsaw is not, but this movie is a horror
real
film.
Stuff.
Yeah, and I like how it pulls back the curtain on this life. What's scary is that these kids do not come up with these opinions by themselves through the process of discovery. They are told these things, and it's quite scary to watch them.
Well, that's the thing, Zorianna. You know, children, they want to please the parents and their parents. They want to please authority figures, so they're saying things that they know are going to get approval.
They should be playing in a sandbox.
And they should be, and that's just the thing.
They should be eating popsicles, and you know, it was quite sad. I'd be very curious to see where these kids are 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I hope that the filmmakers do follow-ups for sure.
Yeah, you know, that's so interesting. I was thinking the same thing, because I'm thinking, you know, half of these kids are going to end up going way off the straight and narrow path and rebelling against that.
Some of them are more, you know, have more in common with Muslim fanatics than they do with real Christians.
Yeah, it's some pretty scary stuff.
I challenge anyone or dare any movie theater to do a double bill with that and Shortbus.
Okay, when we come back, the best titles on DVD in the Thumbs Up video segment. But first, a look at what New York Times film critic A.O. Scott and I will review on next week's show.
What's your paper? Ladies' Home Journal?
Oh, I'm not a reporter. I'm a writer.
It's now time for the campaign. It's going to be a whole new ballgame, so brace yourselves, people.
Fury that this world has never witnessed.
Looking at movies new on DVD, Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry and X-Men The Last Stand. It got 2 thumbs up. Aaron Eckhart and Maria Bello and Thank You for Smoking also got 2 big thumbs up. And coming out on Tuesday, Adam Sandler in Click. It got 2 mute buttons, 2 thumbs down. Now, my pick this week, Zorianna, is The Ground Truth, an amazing documentary. Anybody who's thinking about joining the military or as a loved one who's thinking about joining the military should sit down and watch this film, this documentary told in the words and thoughts and feelings of veterans who have come home from that war. It's an amazing piece of work. Let's take a look at a clip.
You drive on one block and children are playing football and they're laughing and they're screaming, America, America. And then on the very next block, you'll get shot at, blown up. RPG.
My DVD pick is The Piano. You know, so oftentimes we talk about why a movie is great, and it's usually the performances or the cool special effects or the action sequences. In this case, it's the music. I mean, Michael Nyman's score in this film is spectacular, and because it is, you know, I don't know if you know the film, but it's Holly Hunter plays someone who is mute,
yeah.
and when she starts playing that piano, she becomes a whole different person. That is her voice, and so the music is so central to the storyline.
Yeah, it's a very strange but very beautiful and haunting film.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Ground Truth and The Piano are available right now.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by
MovieTickets.com. Don't miss another show. Buy your tickets online at MovieTickets.com, your own personal box office.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. 2 thumbs up for Flags of Our Fathers. It opens in 2 weeks. 2 thumbs up for Keeping Mum. We had just a little bit of a disagreement on Shortbus. I liked it. Zorianna, not so much. 2 thumbs down for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning. And 2 thumbs up for Jesus Camp. And Zorianna, thank you so much. It was great mixing it up with you.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, that's it for this week's show. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
Jelly Belly Jelly Beans. 50 true-to-life flavors, each handcrafted with the finest ingredients. Get real. Get Jelly Belly.
If you want something that works deep below the wood surface, do yourself a favor. Try Scott's Liquid Gold. Good for your wood for over 80 years.
As a nutritionist, I'm impressed that Eggland's Best have 25% less saturated fat and are 100% natural.
Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
America's #1 value price internet service is only $9.95 a month. Net Zero is easy to use, safe, and reliable. Net Zero. Join the millions.